And because, well, I want to thank you for coming out to this public hearing for information on the proposed closure of Johnson Street. And we have today County Manager Ms. Denton share some information with the council. And, we can begin by having the roll call.
Mayor Neal,
Here.
Councilman Stover,
Here.
Councilwoman Woods, and Councilwoman Stein here, Councilwoman Wright,
Here.
Councilwoman Baker, here, and Councilman Clayton.
Here.
And, Ms. Wright, can we actually give us our invitation?
Thank you, Lord, for bringing us out this evening. Thank you for letting us come out to do the business for the citizens of Lewisburg and the county. Thank you, Lord, for everything you're doing for us and what you have yet to do. Thank you, Lord, for being so good to me. Thank you for everything you're doing and these and other blessings I ask in your precious and holy name. Amen.
Amen.
Join us in the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Good. Okay, again, it's dead. Sure.
Can I ask, did anyone else want to sign up for comments?
Mayor Beal, council members, I appreciate the opportunity to be here tonight.
You said we didn't have the little green light on you.
Stop down here.
Thank you.
I'd like to approach the clerk and give a handout to give to everyone here at the table tonight. And then I think there's one member of the press here, is that right?
Yes.
Press as well. Yep. Now, coordinated with your IT director in the back. Slides, well, what? Copies? Very much. Position right here for this microphone. Good spot. All right. So first slide, published purpose. The purpose of the meeting is to allow comments from the county representative or from the public regarding the following matter. The proposed closure of Johnson Street. So let me say again, for the record, I'm Kim Denton, county manager for Franklin County, 113 Market Street, Lewisburg, North Carolina. Again, first I'd like to say thank you to the Lewisburg Town Council for making this opportunity available to discuss how the closure of Johnson Street is a part of the future of improved judicial facilities located in the town of Lewisburg. I have understood that county representatives have been invited here tonight to provide information. County representatives have not previously been invited to appear before the town council to address these matters. Therefore, I can tell you I'm very delighted to be here and very delighted to share these facts and address this matter. I do want to make sure that everyone leaves here tonight understanding that the town and the county have been working together on this project. I have some additional representatives with me tonight. I'd like to recognize those folks. Commissioner Kelly Loving is here. I'd like to recognize her. She's District 3. Commissioner Mark Speed is here. He also is in that same role as we work through some redistricting issues. Also, I have with me, let's see, Chairman Foy may be coming in at some point. We had another meeting tonight that he needed to attend. County Attorney Gina McRae is here. Assistant County Manager Ryan Preble is here. Ryan has been with the county for about 15 months. He's the county manager's office representative for this project. He's worked on several capital projects over in Wayne County, Franklin County. He has a project management professional certification. Scott Hammerbacher is here. I think most of you all know. Scott is the Franklin County Planning and Inspections Director. Scott has over 15 years of tenure with Franklin County. He and his staff work closely with the town of Lewisburg to assist with planning needs as requested, conduct inspections, or address other code-related matters. His department also works on transportation-related matters for the county and as needed or requested for any of the municipalities of the county. Scott and his staff very recently worked with the town of Lewisburg to clarify and adopt updated ETJ boundary lines between the town and the county. And of course, Scott is also the county representative for the historical preservation. So Scott's very busy. Barbara Fedor is here. Barbara is our Franklin County Economic Development Director. She and her staff work actively to market our business parks and economic development opportunities throughout the county and support municipalities as requested. She actively refers opportunities to the town of Lewisburg for development of the Lewisburg Business Park. Recently, Barbara has been in contact with our municipalities to support national small business.
Okay.
Joe Clement, architect on this judicial project. The county has been working with Oakley Collier since 2019 on various facilities projects, including this judicial project. He's really been working intently with judicial representatives and the county on the floor plans and the designs for this project since he came on board in 2022. I want to say very clearly that a construction project of this magnitude, the magnitude of a judicial complex that's being discussed here tonight, takes time to develop and progress. Important milestones have to be accomplished before moving to the next steps. Just the planning, before you even get to the construction, is a multi-year process. I emphasize again that I appreciate the opportunity to be here tonight discussing this project with the Lewisburg Town Council. This is the next step in the process for this project. Obtaining funding, doing site reviews, preparing building design, and receiving the approval of the Board of Commissioners are necessary steps to get to the point and timing of this very discussion here tonight. The county has been working on this project in earnest since 2019. So there's a lot of information. I ask that you bear with me as I work through these slides and present some information and some observations. Thank you. Next slide. I've broken this up into, allow me to have a sip of water. I've broken this presentation up into 3 areas. The first is the need, and that's depicted here. I'm going to talk about the need, the process, and the plan. This is the, outside plate on the current courthouse annex. If you notice, I have circled in red, renovated in 1995. Everyone who's familiar with the history of Lewisburg knows this was a previous hardware store. 1995 is just about 30 years ago. 30 years is a pretty good run for a building of this size and for the number of people that go in and out of that building every day. Next slide. I want to talk about this for just a minute. All right, these are the plates that are outside on the historic courthouse. So over on your left-hand side is the original plate that was placed there. First courthouse erected in 1786. The current historic courthouse was built in 1849 to 1850. It was remodeled in 1936 to 1937. So that's on the very first one. The one in the center indicates that that building was remodeled and enlarged in 1968. And the last one indicates that it was remodeled and restored in 2014. And I'll have to say, I worked for the clerk of court's office for 6 years and was actually in the courthouse during the time of the 2024 renovation. So I'm very familiar with the courthouse, these courthouse facilities, and the process that go on. The next slide. Comment about the fact that Lewisburg is the county seat. Judicial facilities have been in the town of Lewisburg since 1786. 238 years, judicial facilities and activities have been carried on in the town of Lewisburg. Town of Lewisburg is the county seat for Franklin County. The county seat is the town that is the governmental center of the county. And of course, county seats have been traditionally chosen because of accessibility. A little map down there, I think you all know this better than anyone else. Lewisburg is the center of Franklin County. and therefore equally accessible to residents throughout the town. Next slide. As county manager, I would be remiss if I didn't remind everyone about what's going on with our population, and that brings to bear some of the issues with this project. Franklin County's population, today, 2024, the latest estimate is 77,001. In 1995, the population was 41,804. We have almost doubled the population since the courthouse annex actually opened its doors. You look down at the bottom, there's a little square that says the North Carolina Office of State Budget and Management has a projected 2045 population for Franklin County of 125,131. We are getting ready. I should say we are getting ready. We are working hard to get ready. It doesn't seem to be abating. So, again, very important to comment about that. I recently published a county manager's message. I stated in my county manager's message that service expansion is not an optional decision. And I've been throughout this month during National County Government Month. I visited every department in county government. I have 3 more that are on scheduled to visit in the next 3 days. And I pointed this out to folks in order to accommodate more people, needing more services, solutions that include technology, that include infrastructure, have to be planned for, they have to be financed, and we have to move ahead with them. We can't ignore what's happening. So I just wanted to make sure that everyone understood this judicial complex is an example of addressing the need. The next slide. National statistics. I won't spend a lot of time talking about this. I will comment today, the judicial system actually implemented e-courts. For those who aren't aware of that, that's a very significant step. Moving to a paperless environment in our court system is pretty significant, but it requires a lot of new technology. These judicial statistics support increases in our civil cases and our criminal cases. As the years have stacked up, you can imagine I don't have the statistics all the way back to 1995. I didn't want to bother my judicial folks the last few days to ask for that information, but there is growth. And there's some pictures down on the bottom. And the next slide, thank you. Again, this is an example of court days. These are pictures that were taken that show, I think if you all are familiar with the town of Lewisburg, you've seen this. Have you all seen this kind of activity in downtown? That's because the lobby is not sufficiently sized to hold all the people that need to come in and receive court services on a day. So they end up stacked up outside. All right, the next slide. Again, these are some more pictures of the courthouse annex. I won't spend a lot of time on this except to point out that in the upper right-hand corner, there are folks lined up. There's a security system set up there. Some of that is temporary. It's really not a lot of room if you've been in that hallway. The bottom right corner is the judge's chambers. And as you work your way around to the center, you see a water fountain picture with a water fountain and a door. That is where you enter the judge's chambers. That is also the spot where inmates come in. The inmates are brought into the courthouse. They are actually ushered right by the judge's chambers. That's a little bit of a risky spot. And so again, there's pictures of it inside the actual courtroom. More space is needed. We need more space for some of the technology that's required. Some of our court processes now require multiple screens, multiple computers to accomplish things, and some of it is to do things remotely. So again, pictures that we can absorb. On the next slide, I want to comment a couple of things about this slide. The county is responsible for judicial facilities construction, specifically referring to North Carolina General Statute A-302. The county has to provide the physical facilities for judicial activities in our county. Our county has to find the funds to provide those facilities. One of the reasons that this process has taken a while is that the county has been seeking funds to support this project. This is not a small project. This is not for the faint of heart. It takes a little bit of time to put it together. We have continued to plan with the hope that the full financial burden would not fall on Franklin County taxpayers. And so back in October of 2023, the county received the news that $15 million was being awarded to the county to support this need. Thank you to Representative Matthew Winslow and Senator Lisa Barnes for this level of support for Franklin County. This is very significant. And again, I want to clarify, this is a significant contribution. It doesn't cover the total project cost, but it goes a really, really long way. All right, the next slide. At this point, I want to talk a little bit about the process. Again, discuss the need, and I'm going to talk about the process. When you have a need and you have statutory obligation to address that need, you have to begin the communication and collaboration process. You have to look around, you have to see who your partners are, and how you can work together. So the next slide, as I said, this has been a long-term process. 5 years ago, at minimum, is when it started, I was assistant county manager when this process actually started. And I have to say a shout out to assistant county managers and all the work they do to support departments and manage assigned projects. We have a lot of things going on in Franklin County. And so I want to point out, again, 2019, Facilities Review and Assessment Study was conducted, and a report was issued to the Board of County Commissioners on October 21st of 2019. And just as an aside, I've noted on here that the Franklin Times covered this as a headline story. On October 23rd, county building needs $63 million. I'd like to note, the site envisioned in this study is currently owned by the town of Lewisburg, although town officials have tentatively suggested that town officials might be persuaded to donate the property to ensure that the office complex remains downtown. That's one of the quotes from the story. We've been talking about this for a really long time, and I'll continue to demonstrate that as we talk about the next slide. Discussions with the town of Lewisburg. As soon as the presentation was made in 2019, and it became apparent that some work needed to start, had some discussions with the former Lewisburg mayor, Paul Linnell. And again, back to October of 2019. And I'll make a note that it actually goes even further back. It goes back as far as 2007. And I made a specific note of an article in the April 18th, 2008 Franklin Times edition that headlines, "Looking for Safer Space." And if you go back to that article and take a look at it, there are comments in there like, develop a 3-story building. We want to help downtown. Next steps. Coordinating with architects to survey all of the county's departments were some of the statements that were made, written and documented in 2008. Long time between 2008 and 2019. I'm so glad we started because we are already in need. I have actually, you all knew, I think all of you knew Mayor Neal. He wasn't necessarily a fellow who did a lot of emailing or that sort of thing. So I actually have my file, my handwritten notes from meeting with Lewisburg Mayor Paul Linnell and talking about this. So we continue to discuss facilities and other matters throughout the year in communication with the town of Lewisburg. So the next slide. Let me make sure I made a few other points. I do want to say that throughout 2020, the town and the county, as I was talking with the mayor, he asked that I work with the town administrator at that time. Throughout 2020, the town and the county worked on several other projects. We had a needed sewer line repair at the hospital. We had a veterans event we worked together on. The pandemic was upon us, so we had a lot of different things going on. And toward the end of 2020, the town and the county discussed some surplus properties that the county had in the town of Lewisburg. And that's not an unusual discussion. We were actually having those discussions with all of the municipalities in the county to see, are there any useful purposes for some of the properties that end up owned by the county through foreclosure process or abandonment process or various other things. In this slide, discussions with the town of Lewisburg continuing. February 17th of 2021, the former town administrator contacted the county about a needed easement for a greenway along Fall River. Now that picture, you all might not recognize it, but it's from the parking lot, right up here on the street, on Johnson Street. And if you stand there and look down toward the river, then you can see, sometimes the river's up there. But that is the area that was identified as Greenway or Riverwalk. And I have a little inset down at the bottom. This Riverwalk idea was mentioned in No Big Surprises in Lewisburg Budget, an article published by the Franklin Times back on February 28th of 2018. So that's an idea that's been around for a while for the town of Lewisburg. So the next slide, again, started on February 17th. By April 19th, at the Board of Commissioners meeting, April 19th of 2021, Board of Commissioners meeting, there was an agenda item requested by the town of Lewisburg, again, continuing to work on mutually beneficial matters, to approve an easement on County Parcel ID 006847. And again, that's the parking lot that I just mentioned. The area extends beyond the actual paved parking lot. But again, the town of Lewisburg wanted the easement in order to construct a greenway. And that is slides from the presentation that was provided by the town of Lewisburg. You can see where the greenway is projected to be. Actually, there were some additional drawings, I guess, that were a part of this, but not of the information I received. But understanding was this was a process that had been worked on for a while. And so the county approved the easement. So that's all clear in terms of support for the greenway. On the next slide. Again, throughout the year, discussions about surplus property continued. There were continued discussions about facilities needs and possible ways to address those needs. And so continuous communication going on, looking at issues, talking about things. So the next slide. The next slide is actually a memorandum of agreement between Franklin County and the town of Lewisburg that was approved by the town on September 20th of 2021. And you can see it was approved by former Mayor Paul Canale and approved by our then Chairman of the Board of Commissioners, Michael Schreiber. I've highlighted in yellow a center section. This involved an exchange of property. You remember we've been talking about these things since 2007, 2008, various things are going on. I'm going to read the center section of this, just so everyone understands what kind of the point of this. The town intends to deed ownership of parcel 015363, which is the parcel directly across from Town Hall, to the county for the county's future use in the provision of facilities for county, state, and or judicial operations, including office buildings, parking lots, and other such administrative structures as may be needed to provide services to the citizens. The town has agreed that the county's construction of any such facilities will require support in regard to the development and funding of parking lots, and the town pledges its reasonable financial and administrative support and cooperation in the joint development of such facilities. In addition, the town has indicated that the town is willing to relocate at the town's expense the existing drainage pipe that traverses parcel 015363 to ensure that the drainage infrastructure will not interfere with the foundation and construction of a building on the site. Actually stood out along the street there, along Nash Street, and I talked with Mayor Paul Canale about this. He had a lot of institutional knowledge. He and Ray Patterson. The other issue with this is a lot of people that worked on this are not with the town anymore or have moved on to other things. As the county seeks to construct and develop facilities, the need for adjacent facilities may arise, and the town further commits to support the county's efforts to secure and develop any adjacent facilities. Some of that has to do with parking. The idea that additional parking might be needed as there's growth in the town and in the county and the need for services. The county may also seek the support and consent of the town to realign streets and access points to ensure design efficiency and facility security, and the town agrees to use its best good faith efforts to assist in these endeavors. So again, this was approved on September 20th, 21 by the Lewisburg Town Council. All right, the next slide. Next slide. This is, again, a copy of, excerpt from the 9/20/21 Board of County Commissioners meeting minutes. Memorandum of agreement with the town of Lewisburg, approved by the Franklin County Board of Commissioners. Both bodies approved this. And again, a little description here, I shared information with the board, described this process to them. Commissioner London made a motion to approve the memorandum of agreement, seconded by Commissioner Speed. This motion duly carried approval with all present voting. Next slide. This is the deed in response to the memorandum of agreement approved by the town. Again, this is parcel ID 015363, the parcel that's directly across town hall. This was approved and then went through the next steps of doing the deeds. I didn't include the deeds for all of the other associated properties, but they are filed as well at the registry of deeds. The next slide. All right, this goes to the intent of the agreement and the intent of the discussions that we had at the time, during this time. Again, I've illustrated this is a long process. We've worked hard, communicating with folks and worked hard to build partnerships. Town communications with NCDOT about Johnson Street and South Main Street intersection. 10/25/21, circle that in red and highlighted some things in yellow. This is an email that the former town administrator sent to me to let me know that once that agreement was signed and both boards were in support of it, that they were taking the next steps. This email was sent to me on 10/25/2021. I've got that circled up in the right-hand corner. And then in yellow, you recognize the folks, the topic is Johnson and South Main intersection. The folks that were a part of that discussion, Millard Wheeler, that's Scott Wheeler, NCDOT. He's retired now from NCDOT, but a great partner and a great advocate for Franklin County and the town of Lewisburg and all the municipalities. He still serves on the Youngsville Rescue, so very much involved in the community. Philip Slater was referenced here, the town of Lewisburg. Philip maybe still does some things in the town of Lewisburg. And of course, Ray Patterson was involved in that discussion. So again, this is an update to let the county know that the town is moving ahead with this stuff. Let's see, any other notes about this? I want to point out again with this slide that the town reached out to the North Carolina Department of Transportation. The county did not do that. That is not a step that the county would take. These activities are in the town of Lewisburg. And so we can count on our partnership with the town of Lewisburg in that effort. So the next slide. Again, based on reaching this agreement, and this gets to the heart of the two boards working together and the reliance that the county had and the reliance that the county took in terms of the steps that were taken. Based on reaching the agreement, the Board of Commissioners set aside funding. Remember, we're following kind of chronologically. Approved in September, reaching out to DOT in October, town's letting us know that. November 1st, 2021, the Board of Commissioners set aside funding to begin work on the judicial complex. I'm using one of this hard money, and we're really putting something into it. Hundreds of thousands of dollars. Again, the county's moving forward, relying on the agreement reached with the town. If you're doing things like conducting site surveys, doing geotechnical testing, design fees for the judicial and administration building, that's when our partners here with Open Collier really started to get in and dig in and figure out what to do next. So again, that was November 1st of 2021. All right, the next slide. Mayor Neal was sworn in December of 2021. I want to make sure that I continue to be keep folks up to date on the town and county discussions on this project. I believe Mayor Neal, you were Mayor Pro Tem before becoming the mayor, but I reached out to the town administrator, again, trying to keep that continuity going. I'm trying to make sure things are clear. I reached out to the town administrator in early January and asked about a time to meet. Wanted to make sure the mayor, leadership and in the town knew about this. And so, of course, the mayor and the town administrator met with me on January 13th while attending an economic development meeting in the county administration building. This is the email confirmation that I received back from the town administrator that indicated that the mayor will be there to meet. And of course, one of the things, and you'll see this in the upcoming slide, one of the things we were discussing that time as we've taken these steps is another update of the commissioners meeting. And so that was one of the things that we were talking about that day, is what the next steps would be in terms of official updates to. All right, thank you. The next slide. This is just the first page of that update that the Board of Commissioners meeting. It's one page. I actually shared this back on March the 7th. We met with the mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, and Councilman Stover, and the town administrator, myself and Commissioner London, and updated them because there were some public discussions about the Johnson Street closure. And so we asked to meet. That's the habit we've been following. As county manager, I reach out to the town administrator, see if we can coordinate meetings, and see when's the best approach to get people informed. So did that. Again, but this was an update at the Board of Commissioners meeting on January 18th, 2022. Okay, the next slide. I have these excerpts from that presentation, and I've start with the little red circles down at the bottom. Again, these are slides that are directly from that presentation. And I want to be sure that I point out that the possibility of using a portion of Johnson Street to support the future development of the needed judicial facilities was first depicted publicly in this presentation by Oakley Collier on January 18th, 2022. And again, this presentation was made to the Franklin County Board of Commissioners. Yes. Again, it's possible that there were some folks from the Lewisburg Town Council that might have been in attendance. I'm not 100% sure of that. But again, in early January, made the mayor, town administrator aware that this presentation was upcoming. Again, recognizing this was made after the agreement was reached with the town of Lewisburg, with the knowledge that the county had the support of the town council. And I mentioned again, mentioned earlier the meeting on March 7th, the Commissioner London and I met with some representatives of the town council. Again, just want to emphasize that this is the next step in the process of hearing and talking and updating. I can't really take next steps until the Board of Commissioners actually approves the process. That's where we're at. Time. Let's see, next slide. All right, this next slide is go back. If you would go back to that previous slide, thank you. Make sure I make a couple of points about this. This slide, there are, I want to be clear that the site plans have certainly not been finalized. This is January 2022. Board of Commissioners were hearing about the possibilities for building location, building connections with the existing courthouse annex. I want to take an opportunity to comment about the reason for renovating the courthouse annex. That's 14,000 square feet. The bones of that building are good, but renovating it and making it useful space is really important. Having to replicate that square footage with a new build would be adding more expense to this project. And so placing any new addition adjacent to the existing courthouse annex, of course, allows us to use space more efficiently. For example, you only have to set up one security entrance. If you have multiple buildings, then you have to have multiple security points. If you have everything in one connected building or space, you save the expense, equipment, and personnel to have better building control. Again, the other advantage is you're saving some footprint on the lot, the available space that we have. Maximizing parking has been a critical topic. That's really, really been a huge part of this discussion. And so when you align the buildings, I've used the word kind of snug up to the space that's already there and being used, then you maximize the space that you can use to develop parking lots. Again, I recommend that county and the town continue to work together on these parking issues. And you'll see this as Joe makes his presentation, when you have dedicated parking for judicial staff, then they're not parking up and down the street, they're not parking in front of businesses, they're not trying to find a parking place somewhere in town. You've got dedicated space for them, and you've got, commerce that can carry on freely and not take it up like that. Also, as communications with the judicial representatives evolved and floor plans were discussed, I'll point out the layout of the building began to take shape. Obviously, a building of this size is really designed in sections. You might design the DA's office, you might design the clerk's office, and then you begin to put the pieces together for the larger building. And so you have to decide where's going to be the front of the building, what's the best presentation for this, how to work. And so in this, you see some entrances that are actually facing toward the river. And so what that resulted in was some of the less attractive gated parking areas, or some of the needs that you would call back of house, ended up facing more of the busier areas or more of the potential development areas in the town. And so the design was shifted to place the entrance over on Nash Street, and that allowed a public plaza. That allows pedestrian flow down Nash Street, more aimed toward downtown. Those were some of the ideas that were thrown around in that process. The next slide, thank you. Town communications with the North Carolina Department of Transportation about Johnson Street. Again, North Carolina DOT, this is chronologically the next item. This is specifically about the closure of Johnson Street. And I want to say clearly again that the county has not and did not make any contact with NCDOT requesting the closure of Johnson Street. I demonstrated back on slide 18, there was communication made by the town after reaching an agreement with the county. And so this is an excerpt from the North Carolina Department of Transportation Board meeting minutes from the DOT statewide meeting held on May 4th and 5th of 2022. It takes 2 days to complete a DOT meeting. They got a lot going on. Obviously, in order to get on their agenda, I think you have to submit well in advance, and you have to make sure you're in line. And so again, I want to point out, let's see if I have that actual document here so I can read for you. The index is the first 2 pages. Over on the left and in the center is actually the agenda, but the third page is the one that's of interest. Closed West Johnson Street, this is Division 5, Franklin County, closed West Johnson Street at State Road 1228, North Main Street in Lewisburg, at the request of the municipality to improve parking and pedestrian access to the courthouse and establish funds. So, want to make sure, again, you understand, this was not anything that the county requested. Obviously, the town was reaching out to NCDOT about this. And again, on the very first slide, I had a picture of a flyer. I think that flyer is maybe what started a lot of discussion about what was happening with Johnson Street. And so I will say that I also received that flyer and wondered, where did this come from? And so I called NCDOT and I asked, was there any documentation? This is what they ultimately found and provided to me. The town, they indicated they had other items that would be of interest to the town. But this was what they provided to me in terms of when the decision was made about it. So at this point, we've established the need. We've got a 30-year-old building, increases in demand for judicial services, cases based on population growth. We talked about the process. The county's been working on this issue for a minimum of 5 years. The county has been working with the town and has obtained the town's commitment to support this process in a number of ways as outlined in the agreement on September 20th of 2021. The county has worked to figure out a way to lessen the burden of this process, of this requirement on Franklin County taxpayers, financially support this need. The $15 million from the legislature has to be used by October of 2025. Again, the Board of Commissioners approved moving forward with this project on April 15th of 2024. And so now's the time for the presentation. At this point, if you go to the next slide, then I think what we'll need to do is take your jump drive and insert it. Got that already? All right. Then Joe is going to step up to the podium. And if the board would like, and I'll ask if the board would like, to see the presentation that was made to the Board of Commissioners on April 15th. Would you like to see that, Michael?
Yes.
All right, so thank you very much for that. I'm going to ask Joe to step up to the podium. He's gonna go through that presentation, and then, no surprise, I'm gonna come back to the podium and share a few more bits of information. So thank you for your patience as we work through this.
I have hard copies, if, you would like, I could share them. I think that's enough. I have one or two. I'll just start and introduce myself. Good evening, Mayor Neal and fellow council members. My name is Joseph Koenig. I'm an architect with Oakley Collier Architects, the main architects that have been working on this since 2021 or maybe even a little before. I joined with them and into this project, roughly couple months right after the initial 2022 presentation board of commissioners. So where we were at that point was working through the site and trying to make it work and make sense for what we were told for the program and the needs and the expansions that come after the judicial. So we went through all of the process of figuring out what was needed, putting that onto plan, putting that onto a site, trying to figure out how to make that site work as efficient as well as be the benefits of the city and to the county, of course. So at that point, we started to really hone in onto each individual department of the judicial operations in the county. The process and what I'm about to explain to you all, and show you all in this plan where we're at right now, has been a very intense design process, back and forth presentation to the judicial staff, all the judges, all of the clerk courts, courthouse staff, the county staff and associated department, the sheriff's office, the district attorney's office, and the administration office, of course, the AOC, who has the vital part of how it works, what it's all about. You could go to the next slide. You might be able to go 2 slides up, or just page down. Yeah. Yeah, and that collaboration is actually still going on. We're just getting into developing technical, civil coordinations, in which later this week we're going to be meeting the civil engineer, myself, and we'll be meeting with Philip Slater for the town of Lewisburg to talk about the site and where we're at civilly, what we need to get the plat and everything else worked out for the town. Granted, this goes through. So next page, please. The current proposal that differs a little bit from, and Tim was explaining it, a little bit from what was presented in 2022 is renovating the annex is the same. We're proposing to make as compact as possible that 3-story structure on the back side of the annex, so that we could have a better utilization and possible further use of the site. Granted, growth continues 40, 50 years down the line. We would probably want to keep this as a judicial center. So thinking about that in the future as well. But Similarly, so we're showing, the West Nash Street has the plaza, the three-story structure is a bit taller than the other buildings on the block. So we wanted to bring it back and make it a little more pedestrian friendly, ultimately giving a better downtown, a better pedestrian feel. Well, and hopes that that would really boost the downtown district. Secure parking on the backside is where West Johnson gets cut off. And you have a gated entry into that back portion, which we're now considering to be, sort of back of house. After you reorient this building and the site, the major presentation of it is gonna be on West Nash Street. And then the public presentation will be from the public parking that's to the west of it. So we were thinking about that. And then a little, addition that happens on the bottom, on the south side of the parking spaces, as we counted them, the, paid parking spaces as they are currently, we worked out, this parking lot to provide, close to 50 more parks. So again, really trying to do the most that we possibly could with the space that we've been given. The next slide, please. The summary of the project is roughly 69,000 square foot, building and program use. 14,000 square feet of that is renovated annex building. 55,000 square feet is the new story and the new addition. We're introducing a public plaza to a really important building for the county, for the city. We're increasing parking, and we're also providing that much highly desired, highly needed, as stated by all the courthouse staff, security in security parking lot. And so next slide, please. And that security was one of the major focuses on the plan, and I'll just run through the plan. I'm not going to explain this whole plan, but roughly what you see is it's the same orientation. The arrows up and down point to the entry and exits for the public off of the Nash Square Plaza. The front of house, which is mainly the yellow, and that equally is the sheriff's security entry command center. You have a DA's office in the bottom corner. You have a clerk of court's office that is occupying that old green part on the right side of your sheet, which is the existing annex building. And then another major part of this security portion is the sally port that you see in the red, which is secure to enter into the building, in which inmates can be transferred without crossing paths with the public or the back of house and any staff, and they can be brought to a holding cell in between the two courtrooms, minimizing any kind of possible breach in what's happening now, which was a big deal a lot. Judge Davis was mentioning how people that are being tried and coming from jail will walk right past his office and his assistant's offices as they're going to go to the courtroom. So we try to be really functional with the space for obvious reasons, a lot of growth. We're trying to provide as much expansion in this building as possible for the current needs, for the relatively or for the future needs foreseeable, as well as the orientation of the building. We think that there's possible growth opportunities there that will keep this very much so intact for even the future unseen growth necessities. We're thinking, we're planning to update the technology used in the courtrooms, working with AOC for that. We're going to bring modern technological advances for wayfinding, for organization, all all of these things are to facilitate a more functioning, efficient courthouse. So you won't have lines lining out the door and down the street, essentially, and efficient flow. Maintaining, like Kim mentioned, a larger building, you still have one entry and one exit. You have other exits, of course, in case of fire, there's life safety issues. But for security purposes and for the sheriff and the deputies, they want eyes on entry and exits, all possible. And so I work specifically with them, we work specifically with them to make sure that happens. The secured isolated sally port, mentioned public accessibility, ease of wayfinding, efficiency, and road. On this slide is the second and third level. So you see they're essentially the same, except the front, the top right portion of the plan is more office space on the third. A more open feel to the second with a double volume lobby. The sheriff also likes that for communication and for possible extra oversight into that entryway. The floors are partitioned, mainly the yellow is a public corridor that brings everybody from that top left portion, which is the vertical circulation piece, the elevator and stairwell, and it brings you down the corridor into the two main courtrooms on each. The first courtroom on your right is roughly 100 seating, public seating courtroom, and then the main courtroom on the bottom is roughly 250 seating courtroom. So currently, just to give you an idea, that's 4 of these courtrooms in this footprint. And currently what's in the annex is a 215 seating courtroom. So that's these 2 courtrooms on 2 floors, plus a magistrate's courtroom, a clerk of court's courtroom that's down in the green on the first floor as well. So expansion was a big deal. Again, efficiency of the use, increased capacity. The red part is the sally port in between the 2 courtrooms for secure transfer of anyone that's coming from jail under police custody. So I'll just, the next slide, please. This, I'll take you just through a couple of images of what this, what we're proposing this to be similar to, and sitting on the site. So this is a view from the town hall, almost, essentially, across the street or right on Nash Street, looking at the main entry plaza. And then the next slide is a view from West Johnson Street on the southwest side, looking at the back of the building and the main side that faces the public parking. And then the next slide is a view of how this building marries up to the side of the annex that's the existing annex building. So we really tried to respect the architecture in marrying this building up on the backside and pending it. We wanted to bring in some of the profiles, definitely wanted to bring in the material that was used. We think that was a prominent statement that was made when it happened, and think it could add to the building. So trying to do that as well as present another very, I would say stately addition to West Nash Street as you turn the corner to get to the public plaza is in our mind of what we're trying to do. The next slide. So just to run through the schedule of where we're at, we're currently working on a bid set. All of this works around trying to, and as Kim mentioned, the state funding, works around getting that into operation in the required time of which it needs to be used in order for it to go, towards this building. So the main deadlines to get this thing going are LGC approvals of, October first, in which we're working towards getting, the bids all worked out before that, so that that can happen on October first, which would allow the start of this to happen mid-October. Assuming construction is roughly 18 months to 2-year process, this structure could arrive in the mid of October 2026. So, that's where we're sort of pressing, and it's full court press, all speed ahead, to get to that point at this. So, and that's my presentation. I'd be happy to, answer any questions or, just hand it back to Tim. Yes, ma'am.
So how many parking spots are you coming up with? You're saying that you'll add about 50, but obviously we may lose a few in the drawings. So about how many parking spots will we have?
Oh, roughly 150, right around, hovering around 150.
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
On slide 3, with the new parking, there's a building adjacent to it, that has about 10 units where people live there. How will that directly affect them?
Are you,
It's apartments right there inside the building on the Johnson Street, but in this secure parking.
oh, yeah.
How will that directly affect those people that live there?
Besides cutting off the street, it's not going to, besides cutting off the Johnson Street, it won't affect them at all. They still have their entry and exit, they still have their parking, their entry. And we intend to, create, we're not just gonna put up a gate, it's gonna be a gate with landscaping. So we hope that it will be an add to the streetscape, and essentially to the side of their street, or if they walk, the daily walk along, either way, out of their apartment. That is not an
I just want to know how will that affect those people there, because it's so close.
Right.
That-
And I was looking at the slide that you had, and, where the building was located, it seemed like you already got shrubbery and things like that. Because look, from Johnson Street.
Just a moment, we will have a comment section after that. The questions now are for the council.
That's my question, I just don't know how will that affect that building.
Yeah, we hope it'll, do the streetscape of the community.
That picture kind of, that is what it's gonna be along that building.
I understand that part, what I'm saying, but usually make sure that's not driving them out, because they may need something further on in the future. I don't know how that's gonna affect them. I see the landscape.
So with the, fence, fence going down the side of the building also, will you be able to walk down the side of the building?
You should be able to walk inside that building, where the fence is gonna be on the property line, so it's not gonna be on their property at all. They'll still have their setback that they, that has.
Like, the sidewalk. I mean, in case somebody wants to go that way, going down to the park, if you're walking.
I'd say these are some of the issues, if I could, Joe, and to the council, these are some of the issues that I want us to talk about and figure out how, this will best fit. Based on this. Those are some of my follow-up comments.
Doing a regular district, I go to the multiple court, there'll be several court sessions going on simultaneously. Okay, how many employees for this building house? Staff,
Well, we have, it's close to 50, it's about 45, somewhere around there for parking. That probably won't be full at all times, but I can't speak to exactly how much is going to be staffed in this building. At the current moment, you know, their request, Franklin County's request was for 42 staff parking spaces. And I think that's with the thought of some expansion currently. At full capacity in the future, I think there's need for it to be more.
You asked to look at any alternatives closing Johnson Street.
I know we considered, we tried at first. Well, they ultimately didn't work because of size and space. So what the county needs for the courthouse, as you saw, is what they need for space to operate, in the park of that. And anyway, you couldn't do that with Johnson Street. Some of this building would worked itself over into the current parking that we're showing to the public, and it would have taken out all the parking down here. The parking would have been close to half by what we have on site right now.
Consider using some of the existing parking.
Perhaps, get somebody on some of these questions. Have some answers.
Yes, I want to say, there were other alternatives considered, but again, the county and the town reached their agreement on September 20th of 2021. And then the town began to work on, closing Johnson Street, and the county relied on that, those steps that were taken. That's when the procedure moved along in the manner that I described. Yes, alternatives were considered early on, but we received the endorsement of the town through that memorandum of agreement, and we received the endorsement of the town when the town began to reach out to NCDOT and let the county know that this was something that they were supporting. So, thank you, Joe.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, I'm going to ask you to load back in my presentation. I've got a few more slides I'd like to talk about. I want to say some of the detailed questions about the layout. And that's what I want to talk about for just a few minutes, because again, this jumped a lot of the major hurdles. And again, now it's time to work together on the next steps and how this whole process can be moving to a final state. So the next slide, I think is a blank slide.